Good morning. This is Bill from Auto Europe in Naples. It's getting muggy again. We had a couple of nice days of fairly cool mornings, but unfortunately those are leaving us. It's Tuesday and it's muggy. But it's almost August, which means it's almost September, which means it's almost October, which means season is eventually coming and things should cool off and get a little bit nicer. In the meantime, we're just going to keep rolling along. That's great. I also drive a Rinkin Continental. Anyway, it is, what did I say? It's already Tuesday. Anyway, no ducks, no birds, nothing annoying around, so I got that going for me. And I have the dealership to myself, which is a good thing. And I have a pretty special car today. I've got this 1971 Mercedes-Benz 280 SL. This is internally designated as the W113. It came after the original SL, the 300 SL Gullwing, which was followed by the 300 SL Roadster, which spawned the 190 SL, which was, a good-looking car that went nowhere. And then this car was slated to replace it. And it really wasn't like those earlier cars, other than, it was kind of expensive, but certainly wasn't out of the stratosphere like the 300 SL. But it was probably the first true modern grand touring sports car convertible, if you will. And in some ways, it was also the last classically designed, sports car grand touring convertible that Mercedes-Benz made. I know that that's going to get some flack, but I'll try to back that up as we go along. The car is affectionately referred to as the Pagoda. The reason for that is the concave nature of the hardtop, which I've got inside the garage there. We'll get into that in a minute. And the styling is quite gorgeous. I mean, it truly is. The upright headlamps, the wide chrome grille with the star resting in the center, the rather attractive chrome bumpers. You get the little bumperettes because this is a US model. You could get alloy wheels, but I just love these caps with the white walls. I think this looks terrific. The upright windshield with the chrome surrounds, the big air vent at the back of the hood, the power bump in the middle. The car is just stunning to look at. It truly, truly is. And to have an example like this one, a six-figure example, it's a nice way to experience it. The car was designed by a team. Friedrich Geiger, he was the chief designer at the time, stylist. And then two guys, Paul Brock and Bella Baragni, put the rest of it together. And, what's interesting is Brock, who designed a lot of this car, was a Frenchman. I'm not sure how the Germans felt about that. But anyway, I guess they put up with it because the car is friggin' gorgeous. They sold pretty damn well. Almost 50,000 of these things went out from 1963 to this final incarnation in 1971. There were essentially three variations: the 230 SL to begin with, the 250 SL, which ran for 1 year only, and then finally the 280 SL, like this one. And as time went on, they kept adding stuff to them, and by the time this 280 came out, it was pretty damn expensive. You can see again the condition of this thing is astounding. One thing when you're looking at these cars, you want to look for these little eyebrow guys. This one has them, which is nice. You can see it continues into the chrome surround on the headlamp, and that tells you that the car hasn't been in any kind of significant issue in terms of getting bumped. So, the restoration on this car was exceptional. Started with a fantastic car, well documented, low miles, and of course you get results to match when you start with a great one. The fella that we got this from, this was the result of like a 2-year quest to find the best Pagoda that he could. And, he did. He, searched all over the country. I think this came from California. I can't remember exactly where he got it. But he did find the nicest one that he could. And anyway, he is now, that's done. And now he's looking for the nicest Speedster he can find, and he needs the garage space. So we ended up with it, which is great. He owned it for a couple of years and enjoyed it. Anyway, let's get into this thing. I tell you what I'll do. First, let's get inside the garage here. I'll show you the hardtop. If I can remember the damn code. Okay, so here it is sitting on a stand. This was optional. This didn't have to come with the car, but it did. This one is original to this car. You can see the wood trim around is in great shape. This is such nuts and bolts German engineering. You just don't get stuff like this anymore. This hardtop was not an afterthought the way that it was on most roadsters at the time. What's a shame is the way it's on the stand. It's really hard to see the concave design. But this panel here really swoops in and comes back out again, which is how, of course, it got named after the similar, Asian architecture. And it was designed by Dalla Birani to be extraordinarily rigid and part of the structure of the car when it was bolted down to protect from rollovers. You can see in 63, it was pretty wild to have rear defrost as part of your optional hardtop, but it did. And anyway, all very neat stuff. So there it is. That's going to get bolted back on the car so it's nice and safe and sound, but wanted to drive it around with the top down. Okay, so I wasn't planning on this, but I'm going to chop the video in half and do it. Insert this bit in here. Dalton, the detailer, came in, so I thought, what the hell, we'll throw the hardtop on real quick so you can get a better view of why this thing is the Pagoda. So if you see that concave area in the middle, and the way it swoops up on the outside, that isn't just stylistic. Again, that was part of Birani's design to make it's sort of a structural part of the car and even help with rollovers and rigidity of the chassis and that sort of thing. You can see that huge greenhouse on it. Look how tall that is. Visibility with the hardtop on is phenomenal. It's almost like having a glass capsule around you, and really is such an integral and well-engineered part of this car. So anyway, just thought you'd like to see with the hardtop on. You can see it really makes the styling quite unique, quite attractive. Apologies for the sun, but that's what you get. And very nice to see that with the car. Beautiful shape, obviously. Looks terrific on there. And that is why this is a Pagoda. So end it there, get back into the video. Thanks again. Now underneath here is the soft top. A few of these cars were called California Coupes, which essentially just deleted the soft top for no good reason that I could tell. Anyway, I'm not going to, it's easier to do with two people, but you see things like the original sticker is still there and nice. The hardtop, I'm sure, has been replaced, but is absolutely an incredible original condition in terms of the structure and the, the support frames for it. Incredible. It's navy blue on this car, which goes lovely with the silver in the interior. And, stuff like this. So Mercedes, and just not used on any other type of car. It's like something from a Panzer tank, this big, chunky, clunky, incredible engineering. Back in this day, the Mercedes vintage, this sort of thing was... The engineers ran the company. They made the decisions, and they put the car together the way that they wanted to, and then they put a price on it afterwards. The accountants were locked in a basement somewhere. Okay, a big trunk for a two-seat roadster. Huge, actually. The first ones had a spare tire well. That went away, and they had a freestanding spare tire. By the time this car rolled around, it was set up like this. You can see it has this great little pouch. Here's the original book set with the car, which is absolutely incredible. Original owners, documentation, all that stuff, the stereo stuff, the booklets, incredible. You just don't get stuff like that. I'll get that all fanned out on the website so you can see it. This is the first time I've ever seen the original tool bag, this kind of jade-colored. I don't want to hurt it doing it one-handed, but you get the point. I mean, incredible to see this still with the car. This is not something that's easily attainable at all. You would be very hard-pressed to find one of these original toolkits. Get all that back in. And you just get a feel for the quality of this restoration. The weather strip is perfection. The mat is perfection. The underneath of this car is perfect. Zero rust anywhere. These things do like to rust, so you have to be careful. The chrome is flawless. The paint is flawless. Just absolutely exceptional all around. They were originally black underneath. This is an aluminum deck lid. To save weight, Mercedes used a lot of aluminum in this car. They had a custom fitted aluminum hood for each car. The door Doors themselves are aluminum, and the deck lid is aluminum. So despite all that, it was quite a heavy car. Let's have a look under the hood. I love the way, you get your 4 fingers in there and use your thumb. It's, oh God, there's just something lovely about this era of Mercedes. And all cars, frankly. What have we lost? Okay, obviously under the hood it's had a complete refresh, everything essentially new, everything torn down, refinished, put all back together very nicely. This was the, I think I want to say the M130 engine came out for this 280 SL, sort of the final hurrah for this one before it turned into a more modern engine in the next generation. Single overhead cam. It's got mechanical fuel injection with 6 individual pumps to go into, or ports to go into each cylinder. Very advanced for its time, and put out pretty close to 180 horsepower, which is just absolutely great for a car like this size. They're not super fast. They're not gonna fling you back in the seat, but they have more than enough to keep up with modern traffic. Anyway, you can see everything just lovely under there. This thing's an absolute champion. And as long as we're doing what the hell stuff, I figured there's one more what the hell. Threw the thing up on a lift real quick to give you guys a shot of the underneath of this one. You can see again, it's been worked over like every other part of this car, how nice and dry and refreshed it is. You see those new Bilsteins in there. The way the exhaust is, how solid it all is, how, nothing has escaped the attention of whoever refreshed this car. And it just looks fantastic under here. Everything nice, tight, solid as hell. Lovely. So there it is. You also get a nice view of that weird swing arm suspension. Of course, all, that went to double wishbone stuff in the future, but that was kind of neat stuff. Great engineering for the time, and really gave this car some very nice handling characteristics with the trailing arms and whatnot. Lovely, lovely stuff. So there it is, all very nice and proper. And we'll get back to the video. Thank you. Now you could get a 4-speed manual in these, and a very rare 5-speed manual as well. Those are hugely sought after, but most of the ones that came to the States ended up with this 4-speed automatic, which doesn't use a torque converter. It's fluid controlled, but it works really good. You can see the suicide wipers. Love them. Very, very cool stuff. It's got wishbone independent suspension up front, kind of a floating arm suspension in the back that was considered to be one of the best handling cars of its time. And frankly, that holds true again today. That's what makes these Pagodas so sought after in a collectible sense. They can be driven, and they can be driven significant distances. You're not stuck, with some uncomfortable, miserable thing that you don't want to drive to the next town. It may be beautiful to look at, but it's not a great driver. Well, this is. I mean, the seats are comfortable and supportive. The suspension is lovely and handles well. It's got 4-wheel disc brakes, which was very rare for the time. The automatic shifts beautifully. It goes 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds or so, which is just fine to keep up with traffic, and does run in a very modern sort of way that lets you drive the car around. And that's a big part of its charm and a big part of its collectability. The SL designation, there was some controversy over that, even from Mercedes. Nobody really knew what it meant. For many, many years, it was considered to be sport light. In fact, if you look around the web, a lot of references still say sport light. But at some point in the, I want to say it was 2017, a chance discovery in the Mercedes archives, they did figure out that the original SL was designated as a super light. So they changed everything, even on their own website, to reflect that. So we can now rest assured that the SL in a Mercedes-Benz stands for super light. These seats, they look like the same stuff Mercedes used for years into the 80s. They're very good, Mercedes, about building something good and fine-tuning it over the years and sticking with it. It also has 3-point seat belts. That was an addition for this last generation SL. You've got manual windows, which are just fine. Lovely door panels, lovely fit and finish, little elasticy pocket things there. This This one you could lock without the upgrade they did on that. Love the little chunky mirrors. Love all the little chrome bits in the doors. I mean, this is all just German stuff that you didn't get on other cars. This incredible striker plate, you know, the way that's insulated when it closes, makes the car nice, tight together. Beautiful little treatment on the entry scuff plate. Gorgeous leather in this car. You could get jump seats in them, but I don't know why. I mean, you couldn't even fit a Canadian back there. They'd be absolutely miserable. See if I can move this back just to show you. I like the little vents at the back of the seat. You can see the carpet's astounding, and it's a nice little package shelf to put your Neiman Marcus bags or, you know, Whole Food shopping, get you where you're going. Also love the little wood center console, very neat feature. This was a fader for the stereo, I think. Maybe not, can't remember. This guy added some sort of Bluetooth thing, little ashtray there if you want to take up smoking. And again, the charm of this car. I mean, when you compare it to the SL that came after it, you know, that SL is lovely, the 107. But I mean, it's like a, I don't know. I mean, compared to this, it just doesn't have the same sort of vintage panache with the, let's just hop in. Let me get the keys. I'll show you this rather incredible stuff. You know, this was really the last hurrah for that incredible 50s engineering. I know it's a 60s car, but of course it has its roots back then. Look at the size of the steering wheel. Epic. Beautiful big ivory wheel, giant horn ring and button, three-pointed star facing you. Mercedes is going to dominate on land, sea, and air. A very simple and elegant instrument cluster. You can see you got your tach over there on the left. You've got your 140 mile an hour speedo on the right. 85,000 miles on this, which is original. Your light switch here, nice and easy. Suspect that's going to be a hazard switch down here. Nice little gauge cluster with your oil pressure and your water temp and your fuel, everything you need to know. I like the dash mounted, oh god, everything one-handed, hard to do. There it is. Dash mounted ignition switch, very, very neat stuff. Look at this little vent. You know, I mean, the way this thing all goes together is just gorgeous. Love the wood on the top of the dash with the leather beneath it. Very, very nice. All these vent things, you know, controlling where the air goes. This is often broken off in, you know, cars that have been around. The clocks, they still work. In fact, this one is giving us the correct time, which is amazing. Becker Europa radio. You know, I was listening to the radio this morning and I heard a Billy Joel song that I remember from the band Captain Jack, and I thought, oh God, this is great. I haven't heard the song in years. Man, what a revolting song. I mean, what an unbelievably revolting song. You've got masturbation, you've got a guy picking his nose. I mean, I can definitely sympathize with somebody drinking whiskey to the point of, you know, complete inebriation. I get that. I enjoy it. Why not? But all the rest of that stuff, for the love of God, they're finding corpses in swimming pools and, oh, God, Billy, Jesus. Anyway, this one does have the, look at that, the Fridge King, not a Coolmeister. Maybe it is a Coolmeister. Doesn't say it, though. Under dash air conditioning, that was a very famous option in these cars. And again, part of what makes this thing so charming and lovely to drive in a modern time. The glove box, very, very neat stuff. You see the light works when you open it. There's the little tool to work the soft top and some other stuff, papers, little thing for the Bluetooth. I'm sure that's what this is a Bluetooth setup. There's some hidden speakers under the dash, so he did modernize things a bit, but I wouldn't even bother with that. But the fit and finish, the feel, the quality is just astounding. Absolutely astounding. All right, let's take this thing for a ride. I mean, that Willing 6, very, very torquey, fires right to life, lovely and smooth, loves to rev. The thing isn't geared very tall. You know, at 60 miles an hour, you're turning about 3,300, but it's fine. It's happy turning it, and it wants to keep doing it. So that, again, was part of the joy of these cars and what made so many guys love them. Also, while, you know, the 300 SL was, you know, beyond the reach of most, you know, even well-to-do people back in the 50s. This car, even while expensive, which it was definitely attainable by more people, and man, did it sell. And it was much, much nicer than that 190 SL, which is of course pretty to look at, but can't get out of its own way. Love the reverse pattern shifter. I think that's really cool. Gated. Although I can't tell you the number of times that when I've driven one in the past, I just leave it in second because I don't realize it, don't think about it. Off we go. I feel like the view out of the hood is perfection. You've got the two fenders, the bump in the middle. You know, you're sitting upright almost like they teach you in charm school. It's a very tall cabin in this car. And with the hardtop on, you still have tons of headroom. The automatic is absolutely charming and shifts really modern. There's, you know, just the right amount of feel from it. And I'm just telling you, I mean, this could be a 1985 model, and you know, incredibly comfortable and modern to drive around, and more than enough power. People absolutely love driving. I remember Sterling Moss said it was his favorite non-race car when it came out. And just nice and smooth going down the road. The steering is perfection. I mean, obviously this has all been redone, so there's no slop in it at all. And the hum from the motor is just fantastic. It is a joy to drive this car around, and it's a joy to be seen driving this car around. I mean, you just look like old money in this thing. I'm sure we're getting some horrible wind noise. And I mean, there it is. I mean, this is so nice to drive because it really lets me feel like how this car felt when it was new, and why they were so successful, and why they're so sought after today. You know, there aren't many examples out there as nice as this one. It's absolutely lovely. You know, when I drive it, I realize, you know, what we've lost in terms of the way cars are today. Obviously, they're safer, they're better in a lot of ways, but we definitely have lost something that this car had. So there it is, 1971 Mercedes-Benz 280 SL, known as the Pagoda. This is the final, last of the Mohican, 71. An absolute sweetheart, a true restoration car with no rust, no issues, just a lovely car to drive. If you have an interest, give us a call, 239-298-8000, on the web at aenaples.com. Always happy to talk to you about this or whatever else we have hanging around. So I'm going to keep enjoying this car for a little while, may go get some donuts and bring them back and eat them before anyone else gets there. So we'll see you with the next one. Take care.